Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. You guys have actually done this before, but we're going to go over a few things before we start. As you can see, the notes say that there are legs and a hypotenuse. What you need to remember about the legs is they are always connected to this thing right here. So before we start, I want to talk about that. This is a right angle, and this symbol right here means angle. And right angles, as you know, are always 90 degrees. Okay, so in order for it to be a right angle, it has to be 90 degrees. My legs are always attached to that right angle. There are two of them. There's a leg here, and there's a leg here. Okay, if those are my legs, then my hypotenuse is always this line here. So that is my hypotenuse. Okay? If I were to label these, my hypotenuse is always going to be my C. On my legs, it really doesn't matter which one you call A and B. For the purpose of this, we'll call this one A, and we'll call this one B. It really doesn't matter which way you label those because they're both the same. As you can see, they use two formulas, and we are going to go over that in a minute so I can help you with that. It actually looks like three, but if you just remember that when given C, you're going to do something different, then it's really just two formulas. The formula for Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The only time that changes, and this is kind of a shortcut, is when they give you the C. If they give you the C, which is this hypotenuse over here, then you are going to subtract, and you're going to subtract c squared minus whichever leg they give you, a or b squared, equals, and then the opposite leg. Okay? So let's practice some labeling here for a second. I'm going to go here, and I want to label my right angle first, and that is going to go right here. Then I'm going to label my hypotenuse with a C. My hypotenuse is always across from my right angle. It doesn't touch it. The legs are the only thing that ever touches the right angle. I'm going to label this with A and B. I could have switched those. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to leave it that way for now. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to label my right angle, which means if my hypotenuse isn't touching it, that would be here. And then I can label these A and B. Okay? Then I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to draw my right angle. My hypotenuse is across from it, doesn't touch it. Label A and B. Okay? That's just how we label it if they don't give us anything. Let's work a few problems. And I told you that C minus is a shortcut. So in a minute, I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut. Okay, if I look at this first triangle, they give me 15 and 8. Those are attached to my right angle. So those are my legs, which means I'm going to be looking for C. And it really doesn't matter which order I put these two numbers in because it's going to be the same. So we're going to have 8 squared plus 15 squared, and that is going to equal C squared. Okay, so 8 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. If we put that in the calculator, we are going to have 289 equals C squared. Now here's my problem. My C is still squared. So I am going to have to take the square root of both sides in order to get my answer. I need C by itself, just like in an equation. So now I'm going to have 17 equals C. And if I want to flip that around, I can and say C equals 17. Either way is fine. Okay, if I look at this next one, this is one of the ones that I was talking about. Don't know if it'll let me zoom in. It won't. So this is the one of the ones that I was talking about, where I said sometimes it gives you C and we're going to subtract. I'm going to show you the old way first, what you've probably already seen before. And if we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared, let's fill in some numbers. Here, I'm going to call this A, B, and C because that's my hypotenuse. I can fill in A. They give me a number. It's 8. So I'm going to say 8 squared. Plus, I can't fill in B because I don't have it. So I'm going to say B squared equals, and then we have 10 squared. Okay? If I do it this way, I need to go square that 8, and so I'm going to square it and get 64 plus B squared equals 100. Now, it's just like we've done before. It's a formula. So we're going to, or an equation, I'm sorry. We're going to box and circle. And we need to move this 64 from here to here. So we are going to say minus 64 from both sides. That does away with that and leaves me with B squared equals 36. And now I have to take the square root of both sides. So B equals 6. Okay, that's one way to do it. The way that you see the equation up top, it says C squared minus, and the one they give us is A, so we're going to put A squared equals B squared because we're looking for our B. I can fill in, and I can say C squared is 10 squared minus 8 squared equals B squared. And then I just put it in the calculator. I put 10 squared minus 8 squared in the calculator, and I come up with 36 equals B squared. And then I have to take the square root of both sides and say 6 equals B. So we got the same answer here and here. This top answer is just a little bit shorter, and when you're putting it into your calculator, you've got a lot of stuff that you don't have to write down. Okay, let's look at one more. This is kind of a tricky one. And here's why it's tricky. You can do this a couple of ways, but what we are going to do is what we've learned to do all along. We have learned to say that if we have the area of a square, we can take the square root of that and find this side. Because when you take the square root, that is what your sides are going to be. So the square root of 25 is 5. Now I can turn this, let me grab my highlighter. There is a triangle right inside of these squares. Do you see it? I can turn that triangle into a right angle. And if I do that, what I'm looking for is this side here. We'll call this side A because it's on this side, which means this side is B, and this is my hypotenuse of C. And now we just take that same formula and we say, let's try it up here, C squared minus B squared equals A squared. And we're just going to fill in. 5 squared minus 3 squared equals A squared. Then when we put this in the calculator, just like it looks, we're going to put 16 equals A squared. And then we take the square root. So 4 equals A. Okay, that is all there is to Pythagorean theorem. If you have any questions, please come see me during tutoring.